So if you're just getting into computers, you've probably heard the word silicon many times. So I found an article that I can read to you here to help you wrap your mind around like what this word is, why you keep hearing about it. So our resource comes from extremetech.com, written by Graham Templeton on June 22nd, 2015. He starts by saying silicon is the 14th element on the periodic table, 1 proton heavier than aluminum, 1 proton lighter than phosphorus. So that's a great first question for us. What two elements can you find silicon between? And though aluminum and phosphorus won't be so common in your home, he says here silicon is, and it's also the basis of all current computer processors. The basis, right? And as a joke, or maybe not, he's saying silicon is the most likely candidate to underlie alien non-carbon-based life forms. So why is it so special? Well, it's a building block, so you can see this video taking sand and bringing it to glass, I guess. And you'll see why that's relevant in a minute. But here he's saying there's a lot of silicon in the universe. Or wait, specifically, it's the second most abundant element in Earth's crust. And that's after oxygen. But you won't find it just laying around. Silicon is almost never found in a pure state in nature, and virtually always comes as a compound with other elements. It's most commonly found as a silicate, which is one silicon atom bound to 4 oxygen atoms, and silica, which is similar but has 2 less oxygen atoms. Silica, in a rough and highly contaminated form, is the primary component of sand. So basically the question here is, what is sand made of? I'm going to skip this paragraph about other uses of sand. We're going to scroll down to silicon as a computer chip. So in selecting an element to use as the basis of a computer transistor, the key word is resistance. Conductors have low resistance and pass along electric current very easily, while insulators have predictably high resistance and slow or block the flow of electrons. For a transistor, which must be able to switch on and off at will, we will require a semiconductor, a substance with resistance between that of a conductor and an insulator. So the question is, what is a semiconductor? And when I'm watching my daily Closing the Beat stock market news, every time I see the semiconductors category, I just think silicon. And the best semiconductors for industry can be treated with a wide variety of dopants to finally adjust their resistance as needed. So the question is, what do you use to adjust resistance? That answer is dopants. And when I click that link, at the time of this recording, January 29th, 2020, here are the headlines on Extreme Tech about semiconductors. It says AMD crushes on earnings on strength of 7nm chips. I'm a shareholder of AMD, so I'm always rooting for their success here. Second headline says scientists may have discovered universal memory, DRAM replacement. Oh, that's an interesting one I need to read. Down here, TSMC announces major expansion to feed 7nm, 5nm demand. The next one is MIT devises electrode adhesive stamp to build ultra complex circuit boards. And our last one, just real quick, Intel proposes new type of memory to fix speculative execution flaws. All articles I really want to read. But to finish up this video, silicon isn't the only semiconducting substance on Earth. It's not even the best semiconductor on Earth. What it is, though, is the most abundant. And scientists have come up with reliable ways of growing it into perfectly ordered crystals. And since the article started by talking about alien silicon-based life forms, and now it's talking about crystals, this reminds me of that Star Trek episode with the crystal entity. And so this idea of growing enormous, near-perfect crystals is one of the primary skills in modern computer chip manufacturing. These crystals are then sliced into wafers and then engraved, processed, and treated in sometimes hundreds of different ways before being diced into the individual die and packaged into commercial processors. It's possible to make superior transistors out of things like carbon and even more exotic materials like germanium, but none of them allow the sort of bulk manufacturing silicon allows through large crystal growth, at least not yet. These crystals are called ingots. Skyrim players will recognize that term, and are made in 300 M&Ms, just kidding, but diameter cylinders, but research is fast approaching the 450 millimeter threshold. And that should help keep production costs down and thus let speed continue to go up for at least another decade or so. Remember, this was written in 2015. So that is silicon. You can read the rest of this article if you're interested. Oh, there's a Star Trek reference. I just wanted to focus on the basic use of silicon for people who are learning about computers maybe for the first time. So with that, our last question will be, why is silicon useful in the computer industry?